Test.
Test. Hello? 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 It's working. Hello? Hello?
Hello. Hello. Can you hear me?
Hello?
Hello.
Hello?
I can hear you.
Yeah, check. Can you hear us?
I can hear you.
Okay, perfect. Thank you.
We can hear you. Very good.
For Patricia, it's working.
Can you hear me clearly?
Hello.
1, 2. Yeah, we can hear you.
Very good.
Oh, hello. We are just waiting for a couple of last guests, and we will start.
Very good. I will go on mute. Should I take my camera off or should I leave it on?
So, Jasmine, are Gabriel and Marty connected through Zoom? Yes?
Martin
Okay.
is con-
So, good afternoon, everyone. I know it's a challenge, the weather here, but thank you for being here. And thank you also for the guests that are present and that participate through Zoom. So welcome to the panel, Philanthropy and the Private Sector, Scaling Public-Private Solution, co-organized between the World Meteorological Organization, the IPCC, Université Côte d'Azur, and MERI Foundation. We are very pleased to have you all here. This panel wants to demonstrate how philanthropy in partnership with the private sector and multilateral institution can accelerate the implementation and respond to the triple crisis on climate, biodiversity, and pollution. So to start, I'm going to ask Francisca Cortés Solari, Marina Anselme to be on the stage, please. And Martin Stiermoe is here. We are going to start this first block with the philanthropy as a catalyst from risk to scale topic. And I have one question for both of you. And the question is, how can philanthropic capital de-risk innovation for climate and biodiversity action.
Hello, can you hear me? No. Yes. Do we go? Yes. Thank you. Good afternoon. Thank you very much, above all, to the organizers for the invitation. I am Marina Anselme, the MSC Foundation Secretary General. We are the foundation of the MSC Group, so a corporate foundation of a leading group of shipping company and cruise lines. I think that the way that the private philanthropy, as we represent, can help in accelerating or scaling up projects to mitigate climate change, but also to address, as we do specifically within the ocean scope, the needs for protecting biodiversity and conserving the underwater ecosystems, is to take that risk that maybe governments and institutions could not take to start with. And we are able to put the seed funding to test in a way to do a proof of concept and help bringing together expertise, institutions from different areas, and to put in place the initial testing approach in order to demonstrate results that can be taken over by the institutions, Bank of Developments, and governments to scale up later on.
Bueno, creo que la filantropía es algo que hoy en día toma un rol muy importante, que tiene que ver con que los filántropos o las inversiones privadas
I think that philanthropy today has a really important place, which is related to the investment that philanthropy can do.
podemos tener la oportunidad de innovar, tenemos la oportunidad de desarrollar, tenemos la oportunidad de hacer alianzas, por ejemplo, lo que estamos viendo aquí en este pabellón, llevamos 5 o 6 años trabajando en conjunto. Por lo tanto, la filantropía tiene como una posibilidad que es única, donde no tienes que esperar políticas públicas, sino que hay un propósito común. Perdón.
So when you are philanthropy, you can do a lot of islands and networking. It's quicker because you don't have to use, or I mean, to take the same schedules and time that government has. One of those examples is here, this pavilion that we have been working all together for 5-6 years right now.
Nosotros como ejemplo podemos comentar de que en Chile tenemos 3 parques, donde esos 3 parques los operamos, y en esos 3 parques hemos podido desarrollar un modelo de conservación efectiva.
So we have those 3 parks, and in these 3 parks in Chile that we try to do conservation on this, we have developed a model of conservation.
Por ejemplo, en la Patagonia, nuestro objeto de conservación, obviamente el agua, pero también la ballena azul pasa a ser un animal muy emblemático para el desarrollo de la zona. Por lo tanto, nuestro foco estuvo en resolver esa problemática del impacto que teníamos como principal problema en Chile, en el Corcovado.
So to be very concrete, one of our parks is in the south of Chile, in the north of Patagonia, and we decided to start to work around one of the species under threat, the blue whales, and beside obviously the water. And one of the main species that we work on was the blue whale.
De ahí, desde ese punto de vista, ¿cómo buscamos la forma de resolver el problema? ¿Cuál es el problema y cómo lo resolvemos? Y ahí aparece este proyecto, que es una embarcación súper innovadora, que tiene sello Index, más 2 premiaciones a nivel mundial, y ese es un textual ejemplo de tener una visión hace 8 o 9 años atrás y decir en algún momento como persona, decir, a ver, quiero crear una embarcación que sea sostenible, sin entender qué es lo que había en el mundo afuera.
So because we were trying protect whales in the North Patagonia, and we understood that one of the major challenges was the maritime traffic. We started to develop this vessel, this prototype named Cachalote, which obtained a lot of award, in particular the last award of the Honor Foundation, and also the Monaco award and for the Sea Index, which means that it deployed very few amounts of CO2.
Entonces, este proyecto también toma lo que es una innovación que tiene que ver con una boya que se puso en la Patagonia, Blue Boat Initiative, donde fue pensado en buscar una alerta temprana para el impacto de las ballenas. Entonces, en el fondo, un proyecto, una amenaza, un objeto de conservación, básicamente lo metemos en la educación, lo trabajamos desde la ciencia, lo trabajamos desde la innovación, lo trabajamos desde el impacto que esto puede hacer y generar a la comunidad.
So the starting point was the species under threat, the blue whales, and from that starting point, we developed educational programs, innovation, and technology in order not only to develop the new vessel, the Cachalot, but also another project named Blue Boat Initiative, which consists to install a buoy in order to prevent vessels of presence of whales and avoid collision.
Como para terminar, si a lo mejor hubiéramos esperado tal vez las políticas públicas, este proyecto nunca lo hubiera podido desarrollar. Así que es súper importante, por eso los fondos privados, y destacar en el fondo que hoy día es importante trabajar desde el triángulo virtuoso, la sociedad civil, pública y privada, para lograr realmente estos objetivos y poner el propósito ahí, que no sea un propósito como individual, es un propósito que es colectivo. Ya, y con esto...
So just to finish, maybe sometimes it's a little bit difficult to weigh the public policy because of the different political agenda they have. So that was a precise opportunity to make this and to make the difference. So thank you very much, Francisca Cortés Solari, the Executive President of Philanthropy Cortés Solari, also to Marina Anselme, Secretary General of MSC Foundation. And now I'm going to give the floor to François Génineau, Vice Rector for International Affairs and Sustainable Development from Laval University.
Thank you so much, Patricia. I could not agree more with what has been said by the two first person. We need innovation. The need for innovation is tremendous, and innovation takes time. It doesn't happen instantly. From a university perspective, university research highly relies in many countries on public funds. Unfortunately, public funding has become more uncertain. We can't wait for government to provide all the funding necessary for innovation. We've seen it lately in many countries, including my own in Canada. Governments are rolling back on their engagements towards climate change, often citing economic pressures, cost concerns, changing priorities. Sometimes it's due to political shifts, ideological resistance, policy backlash, and even societal resistance. Philanthropy is part of the solution. It's complementary to research funds that we have access to as universities, but it's not enough. So let me say just a few words about innovation and philanthropy. So as I said earlier, I said that innovation takes time. I mean, we need to realize that then when we do research, we don't do revolutions. It happens, of course, but most research is very small steps, and it's important to understand that. So we're going to change the world one step at a time, and philanthropy can help us in that way. You mentioned that philanthropy and non-publicly funded research allows us to take risks that otherwise cannot be taken. And it's very interesting. In university settings, can be a very safe place to explore new ideas, try new technologies, often in a kind of living lab setting. And the third and last thing I'll say is we often think about university research as labs and very sophisticated research. It's insulated. We talk about the ivory tower of university. It's inaccessible. Well, things are changing. Many universities highly value what we call at Laval impact research. We want to be have pertinent and have impact in what we do. So researchers are more and more open to collaborating with new stakeholders in finding small-scale solutions and going the other way to a certain extent.
Thank you very much. Actually, it's really interesting what you just mentioned because it's really related with my next question. And my next question is, what incentives and governance framework enable philanthropy to scale impact? Marina, please.
So let me give an example that also breach what has been said by Francisca and my colleague here. At the MSc Foundation, we have a program that called our Super Coral Reef Program. It's setting in on Ocean Key. Ocean Key is a private island owned by MSc Cruises company, and it's a good example of how philanthropy step in to I would say create the conditions to which other donors or other specific governments can step in and create last impact. So we began in 2019 with an environmental assessment, and we bring together local and international experts to conduct that assessment and to build up the program. Our first partnership was built up with the University of Miami and Nova Southeastern University to identify corals able to withstand warm seas. Since 2020, we have been supporting 14 graduate interns research and offer hands-on training at Ocean Key for those researchers. In 2023, Ocean Key, thanks to the work we have been doing with the university partners and the foundation itself, we have been honored by the status of hotspot by Mission Blue. And corals on our offshore nursery survived the record summer marine heat wave. So we are always and also very proactively supporting conditions to designate in the coming years Ocean Key as marine protected area. We are working with the communities nearby to do so, acknowledging that a protected area should be also responded to two important goals: the preservation of the environment as both an heritage value, but also a source of livelihoods for those living around. In April 25, we opened in April this year our Marine Conservation Center, who is a hub for coral restoration and education with Bahamians University support, and bringing those partners into the center to create also opportunities for the Bahamian students and researchers to use the center to advance coral reef restoration solutions. We hosted in the course of the past year 10 undergraduate students, and we are preparing a 4-credit internship for the next summer. We're progressively steering to our annual target, which is producing and outplanting more than 6,000 fragments while training 30 university interns each year, most of them Bahamians. So this is also possible because we have been targeting philanthropic efforts, investment, piloting measurable and scalable outcomes. A key point also on this approach is the engagement of the guests, the people coming through the cruise line into the island for education and awareness raising purposes. We are exposed to provide education and awareness to more than 4.5 million of guests coming from 180 nationalities. We have a specific and very privileged platform on board of cruise ships to bring up projects alive and to connect projects with people. The company also is matching the donation of these people on board, and that helps us also to advance the restoration and education program at Ocean Key and elsewhere. We have a space in 9 ships to showcase the importance and to raise awareness on why oceans are so vital for life, not only underwater, but also for life on Earth. So essentially, and just to close here, I do believe that the philanthropy effort can be very useful for starting projects, connecting people, and show what's work. And by showing what's work, we can lead the way for others to join us and amplify and scale up.
Thank you very much, Marina and Selme. And now I wish to give the floor to Martin Tirmoe Muen, Chief Financial Officer of Hub Ocean and Rev Ocean. Martin, can you hear us after what happened yesterday? I
Yeah, I
cannot
can
hear you.
You cannot hear me? Hello? Gabriel, can you hear me?
Let's see, we are trying to hear you. Let's
think
see if
it's
it
on your-
works.
I think it's on your
I
side there.
can
Yeah.
see Gabriel too. How are you, both of you?
Hi, Patricia. I can hear Martin very well. Martin, you can hear me, right?
No,
can
there
hear
is no sound. It doesn't work. Well, we are going to give the floor to the next guest, and we are trying to fix this. Okay, Martin, sorry for that.
Okay.
Francisca, your turn. So the question is, what incentives and governance framework enable philanthropy to scale impact?
Creo que es muy importante. Hoy en día, en todas las áreas, vemos que hay un déficit de confianza. Creo que la confianza es algo que necesitamos trabajar desde todos los ámbitos, hablamos desde la sociedad civil, pública y privada, porque si no hay confianza, no vamos a avanzar.
And it's really important also to include companies and in this dialogue in order to include them and work with scientists to find technological solutions that help private sector to improve the mitigation.
Por eso hablo de confianza, por eso hablo de la posibilidad o la oportunidad de unirnos con las políticas públicas, de que el gobierno pueda valorar y ver estos proyectos que son privados y que aportan básicamente a la construcción de nuestro propio país.
So this is why it's really important to have this kind of connection and to develop all together this kind of project that helps to the development of our countries.
Entonces, si tuviera que hacer un resumen, diría que hoy en día tenemos un problema de confianza y lo otro que necesitamos obviamente tener más fondos y valorar las buenas prácticas o premiar las buenas prácticas. ¿Por qué no? ¿Por qué no? Con eso me quedo.
So to conclude, I would say that obviously we have a problem of lack of trust with different kind of sectors, but also with fundings in the public sectors. And we should maybe try to give some, to identify good practices and started to work on that. It would be a first good step. So thank you very much, Francisca Cortés Solari, Executive President of Philanthropy Cortés Solari. And now I think that Martin Stirmo is there. Can you hear us? And can we hear you? Martin?
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you. So please, I'm just going to give you the floor, remembering that the question are, how can philanthropic capital de-risk innovation for climate and biodiversity action? And what incentives and governance framework enable philanthropy to scale impact? The floor is yours. Thank you.
Thank you. And thank you for having me on today. I'm sorry I couldn't be with you in Belém, but you are attending an important conference. So I hope you get as much as you can from that conference as you can. I think the most important thing when it comes to philanthropy's role in driving change in the world, and we need it, is to put more money into good causes. And currently, I just want to highlight this, currently we are not spending as much philanthropy money as we should. There's only 5% of philanthropy money that actually goes towards nature. It's far too little, and we have to convert more philanthropy money to nature and ocean, which I'm quite into. And if we can do that, I think it's a really good source of long-term funding for science, for conservation programs, but also for projects that is not currently bankable. So the role that philanthropists can play in the capital stack is quite important. And my name is, of course, Martin, and I'm working for 3 initiatives that is doing quite concrete things, and I think it also be quite relevant for this discussion in the ways philanthropy can actually be a source of good in when it comes to nature and science project and banking good projects. First, I'm associated with RevOcean, which is a large philanthropy effort that is building a research vessel, 195 meters long, to be used by scientists, conservation programs, NGOs, politicians, investors, scale-up, startups, you name it. We would like to have them all on board that ship so we can come up with the solutions that we need. That is the kind of the aim of that RevOcean project, and it's really important to get the right people behind it and work as a collaborative group to get the solutions out there. From basic science to solutions that is being developed by technology companies and to the policy and regulating standards that we all need to push it through. I'm also involved in HubOcean, which is creating an ocean data platform, which is giving scientists and others cloud infrastructure to collect data and analyze data on a big scale. It's really important that we bring capacity to scientists and others developing the solutions, and that is a data capacity in addition to the ship capacity that we have with RevOcean. And finally, I'm the proud initiator of a new project called the Ocean Matcher Platform. And this was born out of the Decade Action program from UNESCO IRC, where we're trying to put more philanthropy money behind the Decade Action. But not just the Decade Action, but also the broader communities of projects and tech ideas that needs to be developed in the years to come if we're going to turn things around in the ocean space. And we're using some clever AI technology to funnel in good projects into this platform and match them with the right funding at the right point in time. Because there's not just an issue of funding too little, but it's also the timeliness of how we fund these solutions. And it's really important that we have the tool and the people gathering behind these tools so we can actually make sure that the funding is going to the right places. And finally, what we recognize by having this tool is that the tool on its own can't change the world. We need to create the collaboration spaces where people can come together and we can bring in the right people at the right point in time, the right philanthropist with the right scientists, the right institute, the right developing capital stack, and make sure that we can push those solutions through with tools like the Ocean Matcher. But it's really important that we together can work on networks and create those collaboration spaces. And we're setting now up something with the UN and the EU and multiple of the philanthropy networks that we are in to actually make sure that we can actually understand who should be invited into those collaboration spaces. So I will leave it there, and I'm looking forward to the panel discussion. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Martin, for this very interesting perspective. And now I'm going to give the floor.
Thank you. This is all very interesting. I think philanthropy has lots of power. It can transform things. And as Martin, is that it, said, we need more of it targeted towards climate. And that's not easy. In a university, for example, when someone approaches us to give a donation, they have an intention in mind, and they want to support a specific program or a specific technology. And maybe that it is true, the reflex, the instinct doesn't go directly to climate change. And when you think about foundations often have a goal of their own. They have a topic or something that they focus on. So we need in order to move beyond the current status and bring more people into philanthropy towards climate change, we need to engage in this dialogue with potential donors, with foundations. So to me, to answer your question, we need openness, we need flexibility, and there needs to be this dialogue, this confidence that Francesca was talking about that needs to be established. As in a university, philanthropy works, and the unit in a university that accepts donations works a bit like a matchmaking organization. It puts together people who want to contribute to transform something, and researchers that can help find a solution. So in engaging in that dialogue, I think we can push the agenda towards more action directed to climate. The other aspect I would say is we need to think and foster more interdisciplinarity, especially in science. We need to think outside the box. We need to put different people with different perspective around the table. That's the only way we can move forward. And philanthropy is a nice vehicle to do that.
Well, thank you very much, all of you. We are going to cross to the next block, and then we are going to start the round of questions. So thank you again, Francisca, Cortez Solari, Marina Anselme, and François Genino for your intervention. And now I'm going to ask Maria Jose Urrutia to join us. And this panel is about the private sector beyond compliance. We are focused on exploring how corporations can go beyond compliance and lead systematic change through measurable voluntary commitment and blended finance. So together with us, we have Maria Jose Urrutia, the founder of Ketrawa. She's going to present also Ketrawa. And through Zoom, we have Gabriel. Gabriel, is Gabriel there?
Yes, I'm here,
Yes,
Patricia.
he's here.
I can hear you
Thank
well.
you. So Gabriel is here. He's the director of the economic department of Chile for Spain and Portugal, and former head of mobility and hydrogen at the Chilean Agency for Sustainable Energy. So very welcome. You are very welcome, both of you. My first question is, how can companies integrate biodiversity and social well-being metrics into their value chain? Please, Maria Jose, the floor is yours.
Hi, everyone. Thank you, Patricia, Francisca, and MERI Foundation and Cortez Solari. It's an honor for me to talk about what we are doing in Chile, where I live. My background is more from the other side. I'm not a scientist, I'm not a biologist person, but I am an entrepreneur. So entrepreneurs always an entrepreneur is always thinking about how we can create solutions that can create an impact in the community, in the society. So with that background and with the problem of the achievement or to contribute to the climate action, we start to look how we can create a solution that could be a better for our community. So with that, we select the ocean as a climate hero, as I heard in another panel. Answer your question. In Chile, we have companies, public and private companies, that's called water treatment facility that treat the water to discharge to the ocean in a better conditions. So now this is a perfect example because we are working now with this water treatment facility that is the largest water treatment facility in the south of Chile, in the whole Patagonia, where we're using this existing infrastructure, but we are also resolving a problem because in Patagonia, we have a really huge problem about pollution and waste. We have a lot of waste over there. We don't have the capacity to receive the waste that we own produce. So, and then in the south of Chile, as you know, we have a lot of communities, fisheries that produce mussels. Okay, we are the largest producing the mussel in the south of Chile. If you are, for example, if you go to Europe, the more of the mussel of there are from the region that I live. So we have one problem that we have an amount of waste, a really big amount of waste. So we are connecting the dots where innovation with the private sector and, as you said in the last panel, with the scientific sector, we are developing a coalition where we are using this waste, converting the mussel shells to an alkalinity material, and integrate this to the water treatment facility that they already treat the water, but we are using this process, this existing process, and convert this water into an alkalinity water to improve what? The biodiversity, to create green jobs. I think this is a specific and a very visual KPI to understand how we, with innovation, with the purpose to contribute to the climate action, and also developing solutions, we can contribute this as creating jobs, increasing the biodiversity in our oceans. I think that these are two important things that we need to achieve. So I think that answer your question. I think this is a huge, a big example how a little country like Chile, in the bottom of the world, are using a cutting-edge technology and show this here, for example, at COP and in other panels to show how Chile can be an actor to be a contribution to the ocean solutions and also developing solutions that integrate the vision with a large company where from the CEO and the bottom of the and the operator people are really engaged in this project. And also we are working with the business association, with the small producers. So this kind of project congregate the vision of a community, the achievement of improve the biodiversity, and also put Chile on the map of the CDR pathway. So I think that these three goals is what we in Chile we want to achieve. I think that this is how, for example, is a good example how we can connect science, entrepreneurship, innovation, and the community with the scientific support, of course, as is necessary. So this is why I think that this panel in the IPCC is very important, because without science, nothing of this could be possible. So thank you.
Thank you very much, Maria Jose, for this great project. And now I'm going to give the floor to Gabriel Gugisberg. Gabriel, can you hear us?
I can hear you well, and thank you very much, Patricia and Francisca, for putting this agenda together. I think it's fantastic. So I'll try to address another portion of the conversation, which is how corporates can contribute in these debates. And I want to take Marina's final statement when she said we need to show more. And I want to translate that statement into like some practical advice that I think in Chile, we have gathered over the last 10 years. We need to create like frictionless mechanism to allocate the money in the right direction, right? And de-risking innovation is exactly what we need to do after you create strategies. I think we're all very good at creating strategies, but when it comes to address the strategy into practice, it's exactly where the money is not coming. And in one side, there is not enough, but on the other side, I think that's where we can actually create an impact. The system are not frictionless. It takes a long time to move into an allocation of capital into the use of that capital. If you just take examples such as electrifying the public transport or just decarbonizing some specific activities of companies, you can see that it can take from 5 to 10 years to move into the idea, the strategy, into presenting to the board, and then implementing. So how can we multiply the number of business cases or the numbers of use cases to show more how to do different actions? I think for in my opinion, in working in several industries is extremely relevant. And in order to do so, philanthropy can play an important role, because so far, public and private action has been, in the majority of the cases, being together with multilateral players. But that money for countries in the developing world at some point will get over. In the case of Chile, that has been moving a little bit far from being an underdeveloped country to be a developing country, we can see that money or capital allocation for climate action is like reducing in a very fast pace. So how can philanthropists play a significant role in taking this specific step, which is de-risking innovation when it comes to making the next step, And just to get a number, for instance, if we move from the 53 gigatons of CO2 emissions, and we just take a very well-educated guess of what is the number of the scope 3, which is specifically what I'm saying, it can go all the way up to 15 to 20 gigatons of CO2. And if you take that number and you look this very famous chart, which is the McKinsey abatement cost curve, you can see the number of specific cases that needs to have more results, more like examples that can show exactly how to conduct. Because companies can see the risks, because most of the transitions or the decarbonization projects that need to be conducted are far from the core business. So putting the money in that place where you need to show more examples, more like successful cases, I think is the right direction when you talk to corporate action.
Thank you very much, Gabriel, for this brilliant intervention. And I want to continue in this topic. You mentioned, well, the difficulties and how do we cut that bridge between the strategy and the specific solution. And my question is, which financial mechanism can bridge philanthropic seeds funding and corporate investment? You started a little bit to talk about that, but how can we do to really try to find this solution?
Perfect. So, for instance, today, the problem is not necessarily how to pick the right guy and where to go. Actually, is because if you look into the path of the capital flow, you'll see that when private and public sector work together, then there's like third parties everywhere. So you need to, first of all, to build the infrastructure for the capital flow correctly. And at the beginning, philanthropists can definitely have a contribution in building the right infrastructure. And I mean infrastructure with like a stakeholder infrastructure. And actually, Chile is like a fantastic case. And many people in the world always say, well, Chile has done this correctly just because of the strong institutional framework that you have, because the institutional framework exists. So step one, I think, for capital allocation and the role of philanthropists could be contribute in the creation of a stakeholder infrastructure. And secondly, once that is created, which is not a given, is putting their money in companies that probably are in some way related with the businesses that are around philanthropies. Let's say in the case, the retail or like big industries that the business case is just there but not there, and when boards are not like signing the right step, well, there might be a space for philanthropies to play a role in pushing forward a little bit, so we can create more successful cases to show results and just to publish, this is the way it should be done.
Thank you very much. I think it's really interesting what you just mentioned, and probably after that, Francisca would give you some answers about that. And now I'm going to give the floor to Jose again for the same question.
Well, I want to add a new perspective. I totally agree what we're saying, but I want to talk a topic that in terms of investment is very important. And I think that yesterday in this before panel, we have this vision that to improve and to create, if we had the all infrastructure in the initiative to invest in different initiatives, but if we don't develop relationships, if we don't develop trust between the communities, between the companies, and between the stakeholders, I think that it's very hard to scale this kind of solutions, because this is why we are developing, for example, this pilot from the bottom to the up, because we need to trust each other. We need to trust each other. When we trust each other, we can create the relationship. That relationship could be in a more long term, not just in a quick action. So I know, I am totally aware in Chile, the philanthropy, mostly in climate, is very, very low. I really appreciate the effort of Cortés Solari Philanthropy, because I think that is maybe the only actor that is investing in climate in Chile. So we need to improve that number, sure. We had impact funds in Chile, sure. I think that Chile could be a really good actor if we connect the dots between the largest funders and also the development bank, totally sure. But it's maybe could be simple, but it's very important to develop relationships. So this is how this kind of space are really important, because we need to create that kind of relationship to give to them show our capacity of delivery, our capacity of commitment, our vision of how from this catalyze, for example, investment, we can make an explosion on impact if we work together.
Thank you very, very much, Maria Jose. I know that Martin wants to make some comments, but we are going to cross to the next block, the final block, and then we are going to start the dialogue between all of us. So yes, now I'm going to call Mr. Abdallah Moxit, Secretary of the IPCC, Florence Rabier, Director General of the European Center for Medium Range Weather Forecast, Marcus Repnik, Director of Systematic Observation Financing Facilities of the WMO. I think he left, isn't it? Yes, oh my gosh. And Eric Guillardi, President of the Office for Climate Education. So now, thank you very much, all of you, to be here. We are starting the third block about, I just lost my block, sorry. About highlight how the Global South is generating a scalable, science-based and community-driven model that can inform global sustainability framework. So my first question is, how can public-private philanthropic alliance accelerate the implementation of effective science-based climate solutions? Mr. Moxit, the floor is yours.
Thank you very much, Patricia, for this question, which is really very important. But let me maybe a little bit be different and to speak about a success story we are living now. Because in 2016, IPCC for the COP did have one boat, just one colleague, he's here, Laura, was in this boat. It is 4 square meters, and we were just sharing some brochures and so on. This is but now, for more than 6 years, we have the pavilion. And no one can discuss how the positive impact of this pavilion is good, because at least many many presentation, many interaction, many discussion about innovation, many also discussion about implementation is there. And this is something which is really important. And let me also be clear about some practical thing, because it is not because it was difficult to, IPCC cannot have a pavilion, but just to mobilize the resources, just to encounter the procedural and bureaucratic, procurement aspect, just also to guarantee sustainability year after year. This was not about to happen without the philanthropy. And I want also to highlight something, because IPCC, we are working under the guidance of the panel. Anything should be approved. And also, and this is also linked that I want to highlight it, and we can underline this, because we are not working with many philanthropies. We are working with 3 philanthropy. Solari, with Francisca and MERI also. And also we are working with the Prince Albert Foundation, Como Foundation, and the United Nations Foundation. Without their inputs, we were not about to have more than 100 that PhD for developing country students. This is thanks to this philanthropy. So now, what is connected about your question about for IPCC? IPCC is not doing research. IPCC is assessing research. And to assess the research, we need the involvement with the maximum of inclusivity, maximum of diversity, and the maximum with policy relevance. And also, this is thanks to the philanthropy that are really making our process easy, smooth, without bureaucracy, and also because IPCC is determined to maintain the neutrality. That means the fund that we are seeking from philanthropy, from like Cortes Solari, from Prince Albert, and also Cuomo, and also United Nations, they were approved and parent by the panel. And this is the sign of trust and the sign of transparency. I want to conclude with something also. Working with the philanthropy is a matter of trust and also sustainability. So, and I want to insist on this, because when we started contacting you, it was through the Ministry of Science of Chile. When I want to demonstrate, because we approached them during COP in Madrid, the Chilean COP, and they told us easily, also Monsieur Moxit, Secretary of IPCC, we have not the possibility to help you. However, we can ask very transparent, very good philanthropy to help you. And we started. So we started working, and we found in front of us the team of IPCC, team of WMO, and in front of us we have Patricia, we have Francisca, who beside the modesty, beside the competency, they were really ensuring excellent efficiency, responding to any reaction, any request that is really in line with their policy. So I think this is why I think, and IPCC, we benefit a lot of your contribution, and I should thank you very much. And this is just to share with you the one who was not attending. It will be my last COP, but I came specially because just show to them that if it is the last COP, I cannot let them down, because it is a sign of confidence and of thanks. Thank you.
Well, Mr. Moxit, you forced me to tell me the truth, and the truth is that you have done a huge work as Secretary General of the IPCC. So I really wish to ask to the other audience a huge applauso, because really we were there, and you really trust on us, and you really give us a chance as a civil society part to help and to start this new journey. It wasn't easy, because you had this vision together with Francisca, and it wasn't that obvious actually. And I think you really defend the fact that we need to try to work all together and broke those typical distance that exists between sometimes multilateral institution and the civil society, or also private sector and public sector. And you innovate a lot in that. So it's definitely a huge legacy beyond among other legacy that you have. So thank you very much. Really, I really do believe that. And now I'm going to give the floor to Florence Rabier to the same question.
I can't remember the question now, but how can we work together to try to solve a bit of the, exactly. So I would like to talk about two initiatives. The first one is the Systematic Observations Financing Facility, or SOF. So I'm more on the science technical part. I'm doing weather forecasts, but I'm a real partner in this SOF, which is an action to close the data gaps all over the world. So we know we have some data points observing the weather and the climate everywhere on land, but we have many more data points in data-rich areas where, for instance, traditionally they are developed countries than in places like, for instance, Africa. So one thing that is, for instance, one number, there are more data points for the weather over Germany than in the whole of Africa. That doesn't work, because really to predict the weather, to document climate change, we need observations everywhere. But we can't ask these countries necessarily to make the effort themselves. So the idea of SOF is to create a fund so that people can finance the data gaps and put some data where they are not there. So starting maybe with the least developed countries and the small island developing states, and then it's working peer-to-peer advisors. So it's meteorological services that are already used to managing a lot of data, working directly with countries to actually help them implement data. So for this, we need some money. At the moment, SOF has 12 donors. They are usually countries, in particular from the north of Europe. And there is also the Nordic Development Fund. But we are also creating a SOF impact bond, and this is on the site of the Systematic Observation Financing Facility. It will be presented on Friday, the 14th. And the idea is to create a bond where everybody can contribute. So different donors, the countries, for instance, the impact investors, and the philanthropy. So this is really calling for philanthropies to actually help close these data gap. So is this just charity? No, it's not, because obviously the maximum impact will be where we put the observations. For instance, if we close the gap of least developed countries, we know that over Africa, we can decrease forecast uncertainty up to 30%. So that will be helpful for early warnings, for, mitigating the impact of climate change and adapting necessarily. But the weather then goes everywhere. So then it also means that actually the forecast will be improved everywhere in the world. So it's really a win-win situation. If I can talk about another initiative, I would like to go to the ocean and talk about 10,000 ships for the ocean. So I think this is a nice initiative as well. In particular, the UN entities are WMO, the IOC and IMO, asking for the maritime industry to actually equip their ships with weather data that can then be transmitted all over the world. So that can help actually the weather forecast over the oceans where the ships are coming. So this is also a very nice initiative, linking more the private sector with then the public sector, using all these data to do weather forecasts. So one calling for philanthropies to help to give money to this SOF impact bond, and the other one is for the maritime industry to contribute to 10,000 ships for the ocean.
Thank you very much, Florence. It is really interesting. I have some questions about the infrastructure capital flow, as mentioned, Gabrielle. So we're going to finish first. Please, now I'm going to give the floor to Eric Giliardi, a member president of the Office for Climate Education.
Thank you, Patricia, and very nice to be here with all of you today. So I'm a climate scientist and oceanographer. was a lead author for the IPCC, and today I want to share a few thoughts about education, because education is probably the most transformative climate adaptation action. If population don't know what science is about, what we need to go to COP, there's little we'll be able to do. So to answer your question, I think public-private philanthropies alliances can provide the trusted quality climate change education we need, and at scale, because there are really issues there. This is embedded in the UN's Greening Education Partnership that was launched 3 years ago. Now we have the 3rd annual meeting tomorrow here at COP. And we know now through both evidence, publications, what is quality climate change education. First, of course, is based on science, IPCC report, IPBS, all these science-based reports. It's interdisciplinarity that was mentioned before. It's really important that social sciences, humanities are part of this education. It has to be contextualized. This is absolutely key. Education is a very local endeavor. So we start from the IPCC, but it needs to be contextualized both on the examples you'll take on the science, but also on the pedagogy. It's key also to develop, of course, not only knowledge about climate change, but also the social-emotional skills of the students, developing their empathy, their collaborative skills, their critical thinking. We're talking about trust. We live in a world today where locating the trusted sources is part of what you should learn at school. So it's really important to do that. And also to promote, we need to promote futures literacy. Our youth are too often confronted to doom and gloom narratives, and providing them with a positive future, or at least projecting themselves in a positive future, green skills, etc., is really important, and we should not collectively work on this. So we're starting to know now what is quality climate change education. There's still research being done, of course, but so at the Office for Climate Education, our role is to empower local actors on the ground for this quality climate change education. So of course, it's teachers, but also institutions. We work a lot as a center under the auspices of UNESCO. We work with the whole UN galaxy, of course, UNICEF, the Global Partnership for Education, etc., development banks. And I think really our joint goal is to produce that shared, trusted expertise on what works on the ground. I think philanthropy can fund initiatives where it scales. There's some echoing. It's back there, and I think these alliances. So yeah, bringing this local realities in every classroom, not just the few lucky ones that will have an amazing program, but really how to design initiatives that scale throughout a country. So I think this is why those alliances we're talking about should both support bottom-up innovation and agility. This was mentioned before, and I think this is really where philanthropy can play a big role, shaking up the big infrastructures or science organizations. But also we need top-down programs to provide the strategy, the long-term perspective that is needed, especially for education, and provide that long-term perspective. So on that, I'll give you the floor back, Patricia.
Thank you very much, Eric, for intervention. Now we are going to start a dialogue between all the panelists. So to scale the public-private solution for climate change, we talk about trust to work between agencies and different kind of sectors, but also trust between public and private sector by itself. We talk about the need to invest in startup and maybe in de-risking investment in order to create some solution that could be scale after that. We'll replay. We talk about infrastructure capital flow. And I know that Martin asked for the floor. Martin, are you there?
I'm still here.
Great. So please, the floor is yours for your question or comment.
Yeah, I think my comment was addressed a little bit earlier in terms of how do we make sure that we fund the right initiative. And I believe what many have been pointing to, that trust is important, collaboration is important, co-design is important, and de-risking opportunities is important. But what I see over and over again is that people don't know about each other. So I maybe are after supporting a good thing in Chile, but I don't know about it. I can trust MERI Foundation and I can talk to you, and maybe I could got that solution on my radar by talking to you. But I can't support what I don't know about. So what we're trying to do with the Ocean Matcher, and this is working with the UN system, working with the larger network, is to see if we can map out who's interested in what and connect the right people to talk together and build trust if they know they have a shared interest around a certain solution. So I think it's really important that we also try to shift our focus in terms of, yes, we have these human networks, but we have to make sure that we have systems and the way to kind of connect the right people to the right project at the right point in time. And that is what we're trying to do with the Ocean Matcher.
Thank you, Martin. I don't know if you want to react to that, Gabriel, because it's true that in each travel that we have with Francisca, it's always the same thing. We have always the same problem. We notice that a lot of things maybe are duplicated, and sometimes it's really difficult to understand what are the most important challenges, as we know that there is a gap there. What do you think about that?
I think it's a gap that's kind of unaddressable. It's like a path that we need to go through. Like in each of the cases that we have sort of go all the way to the final solution and to implement, it's been tough. And that's why this is a challenge. At the very end, like I really dislike when like people at any table say, no, climate change. No. This is the challenge when you go to like the very small pieces of each of the equations. Not like a big topic. It's like when you want to implement something in a specific, it's tough.
Thank you. I don't know if there is a question from the public. Yes, please. Well, I'm going to give you the...
Thank you. My name is Norma Shorty. I'm from Yukon Territory, Canada. I'm Indigenous, obviously. I want to know what Philanthropy is doing with Indigenous peoples to assist in our cause. We truly need the help. We do. We need partners, and we need people like you to step up to the plate for us, along with us. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you. We're going to give the floor to Francisca to answer that question.
Hola, ¿cómo estás? Bueno, nosotros en Chile llevamos bastantes años trabajando con las comunidades. Nosotros, ¿está bien? En Chile tenemos muchos pueblos originarios, desde el norte hasta el sur. Lo que yo diría de que uno de los proyectos exitosos que hicimos en la zona.
So in Chile, we have been working for many years with different native people that are located in all the country. You know, this is a very long country.
Fue que, bueno, lo primero que hicimos es resguardar todo el material de los oficios y de todas las prácticas ancestrales.
So the first thing that we did is to protect all the material concerning relatos
ancestrales, prácticas ancestrales,
the
oficios.
legacy of their ancestry, yes.
Después le puedo pasar un libro para que ella pueda ver el material que hemos desarrollado con las mismas comunidades.
And actually, we have here a very interesting book about those legacies of the communities of the north of Chile, and we can share it with you.
Trabajando en rescatar los oficios, trabajando en valorar lo que es la agricultura y el cambio climático y lo que nos pueden entregar los pueblos originarios en base a ese origen.
So we try to keep and to understand and to have an history of what they do to keep the conservation, to keep their legacy, and we put everything on a book.
En la reserva que tenemos, donde tenemos los pueblos originarios, donde trabajamos con las comunidades, también lo que pudimos hacer al rescatar los oficios ancestrales que ellos tenían, hicimos como un taller durante 8 meses, donde preparamos a las mismas comunidades, a los mismos actores de la comunidad, para que ellos impartieran las clases o la educación a todas las escuelas de la zona. Es decir, los mismos pueblos originarios mostraron sus saberes ancestrales y luego lo trabajaron también con las comunidades.
So in the territory that we have in the north of Chile, we try to rescue their ancestral knowledge and at the same time develop program in order to teach those ancestral knowledge to the rest of the communities.
Eso. Y le voy a regalar un libro para que se lleve, para que pueda ver el trabajo que estamos haciendo desde Chile.
So please, we're going to share with you the books in order to make you see what we are doing from Chile. So I don't know if there is another question or someone wants to talk maybe about this. Eric?
Yeah, thank you very much for your question. As I was mentioning, education has to be contextualized. And of course, we, like now done in the IPCC report, there's more and more how we use the local knowledge, including indigenous from many regions. And while we develop the local resources, the professional development of teachers, we ingrain that into the local cultures, bringing in the training of the teachers a way of helping the students understand what is traditional knowledge, what is scientific knowledge, or those different registers of knowledge. This is really important to help the youth navigate within their culture, but also understand the global issues.
Thank you, Eric. And now I'm going to give the floor to François Chinino, who have a question.
I was going to say so Laval is in Canada. In Canada, we had a Truth Commission a few years ago with for reconciliation with First People, and it resulted in a series of recommendations. After the recommendation were issued, we received a major grant from the MasterCard Foundation, which helped us develop a action plan for, by, and with the Indigenous people on campus in order to ease their access to university, create an environment which is more fit to their needs. For example, we designed, I think we launched the first French-speaking Guardians of the Territory program, which is which a few years ago at the COP, I talked about this program. It's a program in which Indigenous young leaders are taught how to preserve the territory through traditional knowledge given in the communities and faculty members at the university. So really, there's many initiatives in Canada at Laval and in other universities that try to incorporate better Indigenous knowledge and Indigenous people within universities, and to do so, it's greatly facilitated by Philanthropy.
Thank you very much, François. I don't know if there is another question. Yes, of course.
Thank you. Thank you very much for your responses. I think, you know, for me, this is my first time coming to COP, and I'm like 69 years old. I do have a PhD. I have gone through the processes. And with this notion of Indigenous inclusion, it really does mean nothing about us without us. And we should be a part of your team. We should have a voice with you so we can inform you at your level, at this level that you speak of. That's what we mean. And, you know, I thank you very much for your dialogue and for all the things you do. Universities are so far removed from Indigenous communities. There needs to be, I guess, more access. And what is that Indigenous inclusion and what does that look like? So the universities you speak of are not in our region, in the Yukon. And that's where they need to be, grassroots. Thank you.
Thank you very much. You are totally right. And this is something that we really try to do in all our panels. So thank you for remembering us that and to all the panel and the public. I don't know if there is another question or we are just going to finish. Please, yes.
My name is Hilonga. I'm from Tanzania, the country of Mount Kilimanjaro, Serengeti, and Zanzibar. Thank you, Professor. And there is a man who talked there on the screen. I don't know his name. but that tone is what I want to hear. That man on that side, where he
Gabriel.
was emphasizing on serious talk. Not talk, implementation. So I appreciate that this dialogue is going on, and I don't know the details, who is really responsible on acting on what resolutions we are making. So I don't know who is who, but truly we need to move to the next step of implementation of these talks. It should not end. I have seen many soft talks all over going on, and it's just like one more COP 30, then 31, then what? Who is really boldly making decision and action? I hope by the time we meet again for COP 31, there are some responsible actions that we can report. Talks is enough.
Thank you for your voice. Gabriel, do you want to add something?
First of all, I want to appreciate the comment, and I strongly believe that these spaces, when are properly assessed and properly, with the right people, is the way to move forward. But I agree with you. At the very end, we need to move to the next steps, and the next steps always need some extra energy. That's last mile energy, where many people don't feel comfortable, but you need to sort of like break some rules, make some people uncomfortable. But in many or most of the cases, that has been at least my experience. That's the way to push to the next step or to the limits.
Thank you so much, Gabriel. And the last floor for
Just a
please.
small comment. Implementation is happening. And actually, the systematic observation financing facility is part of these conclusions. And I discussed yesterday with the director of the Met Service of Rwanda. They've already added 4 weather stations that they send all over the world thanks to the financing. And we cannot control what we cannot measure. So observations are not sexy, but they are the foundation of everything else. So there's some hope in implementation.
So thank you.
Bueno, mira lo sincrónico que estamos escuchando al fondo. Sí que nada es en vano. Se está activando ahí los pueblos originarios y decirle que estamos súper al servicio, pero también necesitamos que las comunidades nos den una oportunidad.
Francisca was mentioning that it's somewhere synchronic because we have all those music behind us, the ceremony. And somewhere it means that we have to work all together. And it's a way also to ask an opportunity for the communities to work all together. So Mr. Maxit, please.
Just one about implementation and to be concrete. I think one of the COP with in this pavilion, at least we did have 2 or 3 side events for indigenous people. This is concrete. In the podium, we did have some indigenous people. In IPCC, if you could take 6 cycle and 7 cycle, the number of indigenous authors are increasing. This is the implementation. The last thing is also this scholarship process. Now, year after year, number of indigenous PhD students are included. This is the concrete. Thank you.
And just to finish, I'm going to say that we need to know each other more and more in order to know that you are going to be there and to make you part of this kind of panel, So this is our challenge, maybe. So thank you very much, all of you. We are going to take a final picture, and I'm going to give the floor to the next panel. Thank you very much. Thank you a lot, Martin and Gabriel. Please stay connected to the picture if it's possible.